no Andrew Lang, but
All right, everybody. Welcome to another exciting edition of The Stiff Truth. Of course, I'm Scott Castelnova, and I've got my good buddy, as always, Mr. Bob West, on the other end of the phone here. How we doing, Bobby?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I'm glad you decided to come on the show finally. Don't get used to it. That seat is temporary, okay?
I've always known this. um, yeah, I can't really complain. My lung AIDS is getting better, so
Beautiful.
hopefully I won't be hacking and spitting the whole show, but we'll cross our fingers and knock on some wood. So.
Well, luckily, you've been doing it so often for so many shows. I think the Stiffies are all used to it. So I think they would be a little bit more concerned if you weren't hacking up anything at all right now. That would definitely raise some red flags. So hack away, my friend. Hack away.
Who is this imposter who's not coughing?
Exactly, man. Woo! Well, hey, another week in the books, bud. I mean, besides work and the usual just, routine that you go through, what happened this week on your end, bud? Anything exciting? Anything not so exciting? Anything scary? Anything like that? What's going on with you?
Kind of business as usual. We did a lot of swimming this week, so that's fun.
Oh, I got to ask you too. How's that new pool? Is it working out good for you?
It is working out good. I mean, it's nothing fancy, but I mean, in these trying times, finding a pool is fucking hard.
Yeah, tell me about it. I can't find one. I go to that same website every day just hoping and praying that it's going to be available for delivery, and I always get the big red lettering, not available for delivery. It's tough times. It's the toilet paper 2.0.
Stay thirsty, my friend. Stay after it. You'll get it. You just got to check all the time. I literally think we tried for 3 or 4 weeks before we
Did you just use the most interesting man in the world line to me a little bit?
A little bit.
What happened to that guy? Did he pass away? I haven't seen him in a while.
I think he retired.
Huh, interesting. What does the most interesting man do in his golden years, I wonder?
Whatever he wants.
That's true. I was like, what is it like? Does he go on secret missions like as an undercover spy in his retirement? Because that's the more dulled down time of his life. Because he's done a lot of amazing things over the course of his life. So I got to imagine that his downtime has got to be a little bit more intense than my downtime. My downtime is like my feet up on a lazy boy reclined with a cocktail in my hand, falling asleep, watching sports.
I don't know what he does, but I almost guarantee the one thing he doesn't do, and that's drink Tecate.
I believe.
I'm gonna throw that out there.
Well, you're right. It's Dos Equis, but yeah, I don't think he's drinking any Mexican lager.
Sorry. I think after all those commercials, he's probably done with that.
Let's be honest here, dude. I tried to break this up a while ago and say that I like Sol and Pacifico more than Tecate and Corona and Dos Equis and Negro Modelo. They really all taste like the same warm Mexican piss anyways. So, potato.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Mexican beer. Now, if I'm out on the beach or I'm at the lake and there's some nice cold Corona with lime, okay. That's okay. It's not the end of the world, but it's not exactly what I buy when I'm in the beer aisle.
Well, and it doesn't have nearly the same effect when you're doing those kind of activities, right? Because we all know if you crack an ice cold Bud Light or Budweiser, that's when shit gets fun. All of a sudden, there's mad chicks in bikinis playing volleyball. That never happens with the Mexican lagers.
No. If you crack a Budweiser, hair grows on your chest. You lose 20 pounds. Your erectile dysfunction goes away.
You're benching 250. You're squatting 500. I mean, you're just
It's pretty amazing stuff. So
it enhances your manlyhood. That's a definite fact. But enough about the beer. You want to know how I'm doing, Bob?
Oh, I was just getting to that.
I'm starving for attention over here. Ask me a question. Ask me how I feel about things. Actually, I'm doing really well. I was actually going to share a couple of things with you over my week here, Bob. One, I have. Oh, don't mess around with your phone when you're sleepy. I learned that the other day. I don't know if you noticed this right here, but I have like a cut on my nose. Here's what happened. Can you see that a little bit there?
Yeah, I can't. You drop your phone in your face?
I sure did. Well, and here's what happened. I was waking up yesterday morning. I couldn't tell what time it was because it gets so damn light early now. I was like, what time have we got here? And just to give you kind of how this works in my room, me and Jamie, we have two very tall dressers, like a his and hers on each side of the bed. So there's like a good 3 or 4 feet from where something could fall off the top of the dresser and slam into my face. So that's exactly what happened. As I reached for my phone, it was kind of on the top of the dresser. I'm tired. I fumbled it. It does a couple of flips and the corner lands right on my nose. Now, at first, I'm very disoriented. I'm very tired, right? So I'm just like, ow, that really, really fucking hurt. And I'm like, holding my nose for a minute. I was like, okay, anyways, let's see what time it is. And then about 2-3 seconds later, I go to wipe my face and there's blood all over my hand. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. So that's how I woke up yesterday morning. So kind of a rude awakening, but I didn't need coffee right away. And anybody that's trying to like dole down, maybe like taper off their caffeine usage in coffee, smack yourself in the face with a fucking phone in the morning. That'll wake you up.
I've got to say, that's like way more exciting than my getting hit in the face with my phone story. Mine is usually like I'm rolling over in bed, laying down, and I like put the phone up above my head, and it just slips out and baps me right in the nose.
Yeah.
So I can't compare. You're much more exciting than me.
Well, and we already knew that, but thanks for pointing that out. I appreciate it a lot. And then the other very exciting thing, I do like to try new things, even though I'm a little hesitant. This morning was my very first whack at doing yoga. I found out a couple of things, Bob. I do have, as I think I used to be in martial arts when I was a lot younger. Have my black belt in Taekwondo, and I used to be extremely flexible. I could do the full splits, lay my stomach down, side splits, all that good shit. That's all gone. I realized today that I have zero flexibility. I can't even touch my fucking toes. In fact, I'm not even close to touching my toes unless I bend my knees all the way down to touch my toes. And then I also realized when I don't understand something or when something's hard, I get very frustrated and give up. So
You don't say.
So for anybody out there that wants to try yoga, it's extremely hard. It's extremely challenging. But have an open mind because it can be pretty frustrating when you don't know what you're doing. But still, I feel great this morning. Ran a couple of miles, tried doing yoga. I have to say tried doing yoga because I really didn't do much besides fall down and bitch and complain. But good times, man. Good times. And here we are.
Your morning's way better than mine. I woke up and made French toast for everyone. That was good. And then I just did math until it was time to do the show. Not near as exciting. So.
Well, and Stiffy's what you really need to understand is Bob's not in school or anything like that. He literally just enjoys doing math. He really loves long division. I mean, if you ever want to really have fun with Bob, go to his house, bust open some whiskey, and just bring some really healthy notebook paper, and you guys will get down.
I mean, I'm no Andrew Lang. I do partake in the maths.
Oh my. Well, hey, I will say this, Bob. We had a good show last week. I got a lot of great feedback from people, and I know it was something we made a dramatic pivot at the very end. But there's some updates.
You a know-it-all blowhard?
No, nobody did.
Me?
That's just you. But just a little bit of a follow-up on the goings-on with the protesting and the rioting, and obviously a lot of this very warranted and very needed when we talk about protesting for police brutality and just equal rights. All we could get into that again. But there's been some positive things happening in, I wouldn't say the aftermath, but so far as these things keep proceeding. Bob, have you seen that? Have you noticed anything?
I have. I've also noticed in the last few days there's been a lot less violence. Curfews are starting to go away all across the country and in our large cities, and that's good. I'm not a huge fan of the curfew. I think it can create more problems than it solves. I understand the idea of it is let's get everyone off the streets, but the curfew also gives the police the ability to arrest anyone for anything out after 8 or 9 o'clock or whenever the curfew is, and that also I think adds fuel to the fire too. But that's my personal belief. But I am glad that As far as the violence and the looting, we seem to be flattening the curve.
Jesus Christ, that's a very common statement right now. But well done, Bob. You're 100% right. And well, there's been some other things that I've noticed too that aren't as highly publicized as the negatives in the rioting. I'm sure you've seen it too. We were talking about it. There's been a lot of police that have been joining protests, kneeling down with the protesters. And what are they doing that? Because they're doing it because they know that as a whole, their system is broken. And they want some change too. So that's been really nice to see. And let's face it, squeaking a wheel gets a fucking greasing, my friend. And our friends there in Minneapolis, the lovely police officers that really were the genesis of all this nonsense, they seem to be getting more of what they deserve. I'm not really done yet. I want to see it go to murder one, even though we both talked about that being very difficult. But our Derek piece of shit, because I don't remember his last name or whatever, and I'm just gonna.
You got it.
Okay. Did you fact check it?
Well, we changed it, so
that's right.
Deal with his new name of Derek piece of shit. So
yeah, Derek piece of shit is now is up for murder too. And I heard this morning that the 3 other cops, we'll call them douchebag, dingleberry, and sizzle chest. Okay, we'll just go with those 3 names. Those guys now could be facing identical charges as Mr. Piece of Shit, which is pretty exciting for me, from these guys going to not even getting arrested, just getting let go, right? Like they had no kind of repercussions besides, hey, you kind of like helped kill a guy, so we're just going to give you your walking papers and can you turn in your pistol? They need a little bit more than that. So now these guys are going to be facing potentially murder 2, or at least accessory, accomplice to murder 2, whatever it is. So say what you will. Maybe this would have happened with due time, right? Without the rioting and protesting. But I definitely think things moved along a little bit more at a progressively quicker pace because of the squeaking from the mass public. Yeah?
I do. And I especially think that currently, for the last few days, that you're seeing it all over the country in peaceful protest. I even would take it another step farther and say that the protesters, the people that are out protesting peacefully and doing it more organized, or I would say even let's call them demonstrators, right? People are out there, having demonstrations of protest, and it's happening all over the world. I just saw one today that was going on in London just before the show, and thousands of people having a demonstration out there. That's all encouraging, and you're right. The squeaky wheel gets the grease because kind of what we started talking about last week is it's not 100% black and white issue here, and that's not even a pun intended there. It's just it's not a white cop against black people. It's not a black cop against white. It's not so much that simple. But what it is overall is it's police officers having disregard for the law while holding their position of authority over other people. The really thing that's hard about being a cop, and I would speculate because I'm obviously not one, but you have to serve and protect and uphold the laws of our country while observing them. And I think that's a big problem that we've been at lately, is that a lot of officers, while enforcing the law, have neglected to also observe it themselves. And I think that's exacerbated over the years and gotten worse and worse and worse. And kind of here we are needing major reform.
Well, there's always been that element too of they've kind of, because they're the upholders of law, that they're somehow above it or excluded from it, right? So there's always been that kind of element with certain cops too.
Enter Judge Dredd.
Yeah, do as I say, not as I do, kind of thing, right? I mean, that's always been there. But yeah, so I mean, there has been some positive things, and you're absolutely right too. One thing that I have seen on a whole every morning when I wake up, because it is always very concerning to me to check out, see what's going on around the country, because every day in 2020 we wake up with a new fucking shitstorm. But there's been less and less violent protesting, if we can call it that. I think that's called rioting, right? But there's been less
rioting in the last few days.
Yeah,
but
there's been
being outside of Denver. That's a big town. It's been hit pretty hard with these protests.
Yeah, and things have been very peaceful here over the whole last week, and it's been I've just seen that mirrored across the country too, except for a couple key areas. I don't know what's wrong with you, Philadelphia, but settle your shit down because you're crazy as fuck. Like everything's getting calmer except for in Philadelphia when I wake up and see something crazy going on there. But anyways, don't want
Isn't
to.
Philadelphia like the people that booed Santa Claus at an NBA game or something?
dude, they they're absolutely the worst sports fans, dude.
Throw batteries at you.
And I think we've talked. I don't know if we've talked about this before, but at the stadium where the Eagles play, that they're the only stadium that has a court and a jail downstairs in the basement because there's so many drunk assholes that are getting in fights. So they literally just take them down there, put them in front of the court. There's holding cells down there. It's pretty extreme. But I don't want to turn this into bashing Philadelphia too much, Bob. I actually was a little excited to get into our next conversation with a little bit of a what if, right? A little bit of a speculation, because I'm sure you and I'm sure a lot of people, not just you and I, have been wondering, things are really getting out of hand here as we round Trump's, going into his fourth lap as president here. And what if, my friend, the tables were turned and let's just say this: what if we didn't have the electoral college in 2016 and Hillary Clinton would have actually won the presidency since she technically won the popular vote?
Well, that's a big what if, my friend.
It is.
It's
a beefy one.
There's a lot to that statement. There's a lot of things to consider.
Does Epstein suicide himself? I still think he does.
Yeah. Sorry, you caught me off guard with that one.
I noticed. You're like, whoa, dude.
Well, it's funny because, nothing about that is funny. But it's ironic. Last night, my wife was watching the Epstein Netflix show.
Ooh, I haven't seen that yet. Is it good?
It is good. You should watch it.
Okay.
But so that's kind of why it caught me off guard. But there's a lot of aspects to a presidency, right? Because there's first and foremost the thing that people pretty much care about the majority of the time is the economy, right?
Mm-hmm.
How does the president manage the economy? How does he stimulate the economy? How is he detrimental to the economy? I say he because that's the way it's always been thus far.
You're okay. You don't need to be PC with me.
Okay, good. So, but then there's the the other aspects of how is the crime, how is the tax laws that make them out, the what have yous, the
healthcare is always really important, right?
Right.
Sure.
Again, the last few years, was it prison reform has been a big issue too. So there's a lot of these issues to consider, and a lot of them are aligned with partisan ideology. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Takes office, especially in the last decade. So, that is a beefy steak that you sliced off there to chew on. But I'm excited. Let's start taking bites out of this thing.
Yeah, you like chewing on beefy steak. That's all I know, or beefy meat. Yeah, let's take a stab at this right now. I want to just kind of spitball this. How would you think this would have been different here? Okay, so Hillary Clinton takes office, 2016. Obviously, this happened, Stiffies. I'm just throwing out a scenario there, a what if, right? An alternate universe right now. One thing, and I'm just gonna come out and say this because it is the stiff truth. The left gets more of a they shit in my cereal uprising when they don't get their way versus the right with the president. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. I do remember a lot of racist middle America rednecks being upset when Obama became president, but I don't remember people crying for like the next 6 months to a year about it, not my president kind of stuff. So how do you even see that kind of division not being there or different with her becoming president versus Donald Trump?
Well, so the interesting thing is we'd have to consider that the House and the Senate would have still been the same. It would have still been GOP controlled, which instantly would have made her a lame duck president. for the first until midterms at least, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's that. So as far as laws that are going to happen, nothing would have gone. I mean, I doubt very seriously that any bipartisan tax law or anything goes through at that point. So we wouldn't have, the taxes wouldn't have changed, I would imagine, because they wouldn't have been able to agree on something of that magnitude to pass.
There's no wall conversation. That's done. That billion-dollar project is out the window, so we don't worry about that anymore.
Yeah, is that real? I mean,
yeah, no, it's real.
I hear people talk about it, but like, I can't
Okay,
how anyone could think that that's like a real thing.
Well, see, here's the funny thing. It's real, and then I've seen certain parts of it like get already toppled over by people going, crossing the border. There's been malfunctions and things breaking and stuff like that. I don't know really where it's at with like its completion or its legitimacy, to be honest, with how it would actually work. But we all know you build a wall, they're going to either jump over it or crawl or dig under it anyways. I mean, if they really want to get here, they're going to get here. I don't know. I think the arbitrary borders are kind of as far as we need to go. But anyways, I'm not here to talk about the damn wall. I'm just saying it wouldn't be a conversation at all.
Well, anyway, yeah, the wall conversation is dead on arrival. Now the interesting thing is the economy, right? So I mean, say what you want about Obama's economic policies. I remember getting laid off in 2009 from the 2008 recession. That sucked ass, right?
And that's not a good way of sucking ass too, Stiffies. I mean, badly sucking ass.
It's a negative sucking of the ass. So over his presidency, we did climb out of that, and we had a slow, sustained growth. Because I'm pretty sure that his thoughts were kind of like a healthy way to lose a bunch of weight, right? Let's work on like a pound a week. Let's work on a 1 to 2% GDP growth and just kind of sustain and slowly climb out of this thing and make it, make it sustainable, right? So that it's less peaks and valleys, right? And fine, and we were at about a 1.5 to 2.5% GDP increase from the 2008 recession, pretty much until the end of the Obama presidency. Then Trump comes in, and I want to say that we went between 3 and 4, right, under him in the last few years, and he has stimulated the economy. If you guys want to look into that, we talked about that on another show. So 3, 4, 5, somewhere in there.
Get in there and find out for yourselves.
Right, go listen to the hours and hours of material to sift that out. But so we were in pretty much agreement that he's definitely stimulated the economy. Now, the difference between a 2% sustained growth, which is probably where we would be, and a 3 to 4% growth is drastic. But then it's the good, the bad. How sustainable is any? Is it a crazy difference in the unemployment rate of what we saw, let's say, before COVID, versus where a Hillary Clinton presidency might have been? I would say not crazy. Obviously, I think Trump's economy is probably a little bit stronger, but I don't think that we're in soup lines.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and this is kind of where and you just said it too. I mean, Trump, instead of the safe, healthy way of dieting, a gradual, sustainable, good, healthy way to lose weight, Trump kind of went about this the keto diet way, right? And just said, you know what, we're cutting out 75% of our caloric intake, no carbs, and we're going to drop 60 pounds in 6 months because I need to fit into my red dress, right? That kind of fucking dieting is how he kind of took the economy. So I will say this. If Hillary Clinton wins and 2016, not Trump, I feel there is going to be a hell of a lot less of divide between the parties just based off of her winning. I just think that caused a whole uproar on the left that would never have happened. And the right, they usually kind of stay a little bit more quiet about those things to a certain extent. So I see that kind of being wiped away. Oh, not almost completely. Let's face it. I would have been pretty upset with Hillary Clinton being the president, and I ended up being pretty upset with Trump being the president. Again, it's like the least worst of, right? I don't really think we have a good scenario here. The other thing that I don't think is going to be much different at all, I don't think like the way let's put it this way. She's an establishment Democrat. She is just as much in bed, maybe with different corporations, but just as much as Republicans, right? Oil companies and as well, right? So I really don't think a lot of those dynamics change at all with how that, lobbyists and everything like that. They're kind of the same people that again, they have different sponsors, so to speak, if they were, race car drivers. But instead of saying Ford, their other one would say Chevy. No fucking big deal there. So that really doesn't change much. The one thing I do think would be very interesting is, would Twitter be a fucking political platform like it's been used? Not only by Trump. I think Trump kind of started this, right? He started the snowball effect, but you see everybody else now tweeting stuff, official tweets from all these politicians. Well, and I have to say, prior to Trump, and I got to ask you this because I honestly don't know, were there any politicians really using Twitter in that form?
No, not as like official stances. I mean, there would be snipes back and forth, between a Ted Cruz and a whoever, you know what I mean? There would be some snipes back and forth, but there wasn't, I'm going to put my whole platform on Twitter.
Yeah. So what I see with Hillary Clinton being president versus Donald Trump is that is not going to grow into what it is right now. Twitter is not nearly going to grow into this crazy political back and forth platform where it's like, I don't know, they become, like we talked about, they've almost come like an outlet for politicians to reach people without being filtered by the news outlets. I kind of get that. I understand the speaking directly to the people and all that bullshit. But flip the side here. I see a lot more speeches and addressing the nation from the Oval Office, from the White House garden. Like presidents used to do, like when they wanted to say shit to Americans.
Still having an actual press conference every day, daily briefing with the press, where you let them answer questions and then you answer it with integrity.
Yeah, and here's nice stab. And here's Bob is not the biggest Trump fan, and that's okay. This is the stiff truth.
Not Trump necessarily. It's the press secretaries that I've seen.
You like spicy, Sean Spicer?
I don't like it when an administration official representing the president tells me that, well, you've heard the facts, but what I'm going to tell you is alternative facts.
Sure.
Stop, slow down. All right. Now, Mooch, I love, but
Mooch, he was a fiery son of a bitch, wasn't he? I loved him, but no,
I needed more Mooch.
And yeah, we all need a little more. Was this Scaramucci? Right?
Yeah.
Scaramucci?
Yeah.
Here's the other thing that I see happening, which I really wonder. I think this would be highly a positive for me, and I have a hard time saying a highly positive kind of consequence is going to come from Hillary Clinton becoming president versus Donald Trump. But I'll say this: CNN, MSNBC, those very hardcore left-leaning news sources that have spent the last 4 or 5 years, right, just unloading on Trump and every story about Trump and smearing Trump. They're actually, I see them being more kind of middle of the road news sources without Trump in there, because it takes out their big fucking flair that they want to fucking put out. You know what I mean? So maybe they actually start reporting on stuff that's very similar to what other networks are doing, and there's this less divide there. Maybe.
Also, it'd be interesting to see how the Clinton-McConnell relationship sorted itself out. Because it probably would have encouraged more bipartisan legislative action, right? Because you simply have to. You have to get that signature or that bill that passed and you spend all those years working on it ain't going anywhere, and then you'll never have enough votes to override a veto, right? So that might have actually improved the divide just between left and right in general, having that going, and then just overall in the country, I think that could have helped lead the way. There is I forgot what I was going to say.
That's okay. I'll pick up. Don't you love when that happens, man? When you really you're trying to create the whole scene, you circle back, and then you forgot where you were.
Well, I looked over at the notes, and then they just left me. You can only
Well,
read or think. You cannot read and think.
no multitasking, Bob. You know that, sir. But the other thing I was going to say too, which I think would be kind of interesting here as well, is I don't. Here's something I don't see really being much different at all. Um, I'm going to say this because I've heard a lot of people point at
I
Trump for
remember,
it.
by the way, at some point.
What's that?
I said I do remember now. But
Oh, please go ahead before you forget it. I don't want you to forget it.
okay. Well, what I was
Bob's got something to say.
everybody, listen. Um, about the impeachment.
Ah, yes. Oh, wow. Totally forgot about that.
Right. So I still think there would have been plenty of impeachment inquiries going. They would have just been coming from the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe
Mm-hmm.
even an impeachment in the first 2 years with a GOP House and Senate. So I think there still might have been an impeachment.
I agree 100%. It's just going to be Senate leading instead of House leaning, right? So, and that's going to be the difference. The other thing is this. I don't know if you noticed this, and it kind of just came. It just a light bulb. Did you hear throughout all of the riots and the pandemic and everything, Hillary Clinton did get formally brought up on those charges, right, for her email, the whole email fiasco. She's got to now testify. I can't remember if it's.
Like 2 days ago.
I thought it was coming up in like September or something like that, or
She
August.
got called in front of a Senate, GOP-led panel
With Mitch McConnell.
to give more testimony about the emails.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what'll come out of that, but
It was interesting though to see that. I was like, "Huh, that's still going on. Nice."
yeah, some things never change.
Yeah.
They're gonna chase these emails forever. But yeah, I did see that the other day. Is that also what's the dude that took over when Trump fired?
Trump's fired so many fucking people.
Director of the FBI that
Comey,
resigned. No. The dude underneath him.
Michael Flynn.
No.
Shit. Is there anybody else?
I forget his name. But
Okay.
anyway, he was also there at that congressional hearing to testify along with Hillary Clinton, because they were looking into the origins of the Mueller probe. So, yeah, that's
Cool.
going on too.
I like when you say probe though. Sounds pretty cool.
I do like that we keep having the same things pop up in Congress and spending tax money on goose hunts and wild goose chases here.
Yeah, no. Well, here's the other thing I was going to say too. I see something else happening very similarly. Is that even a fucking word? I'm not sure. Things. I think the coronavirus, and I think what we're dealing with right now still happens in America. Still shuts down everything.
Yeah.
Because I honestly think Trump's response to the coronavirus was based off of the World Health Organization and China and information coming there. So I think still with that, whatever, I mean, if they, we could say that there's all this conspiracy with China and the WHO and everything, but with the information that they gave us initially, we're still going to be in the same position. We still would have been shut down. We still would have had the economic downturn. The one thing I will say, though, is I don't know if we would have been able to bounce back like we are right now because of the really strong economy that we got from Trump. And again, short-sighted a little bit. It's short-term success to get it there, right? But because it was doing so well, we were able to take this dramatic hit to our economy and not completely bottom out. With that little more healthy and subtle growth, we might not be in the position where we can bounce back. So I will say that, but I still see this happening, and I still see the riots and everything happening. The only thing that I don't see happening is Hillary Clinton getting on Twitter and saying stupid, ridiculous, retarded shit about it and exacerbating the situations.
Well, yeah, and I think she'd have the temperament to handle it much better. Like for instance, I bet you anything, a President Clinton would have been at the funeral.
Yeah,
Floyd,
sure,
right?
sure.
So whereas like I felt that Trump should have been there. I felt that any president that's trying to
Well, he gave his brother a phone call and didn't let him talk. Isn't that the same thing?
well, I don't know. I just thought that the president should be there, especially since that's the center focus of all this negativity and all this violence and craziness going on across the country. That it would have shown true leadership to go there and be present for that funeral. Hell, he's rich; he even paid for it, right? Just make that that stance that say, you know what, I'm with you. We're going to do something about it, even if it's I'm going to start a task force, which he has full ability to do in his powers. So I see a little bit more of that type of leadership, I would think. But again, it's all speculation because that's the fun about the what ifs.
Yeah, it is. And this is the other thing too, and I just think in general that the things that the president has said, whether I believe them or not, there's some things I agree with Trump on. There's obviously some things I don't. Right? I mean, he's not. I'm going to say this right. I think he's not all in all a horrible, rotten person to the core. He may think he's the best thing since sliced bread, but whatever. Right? But my point is he's coming from a reality show, be very dramatic, and get ratings world, right? And unfortunately, I think he's treated the presidency like a big reality show. So, he's very, very focused on people watching things that he's on and things that he's saying and all this kind of stuff. Whereas Clinton, she's a lifetime politician, man. This is an old hat for her. You know what I mean? So she's more polished. Yeah, she's more polished. She's more rehearsed. She knows how to get out there and just walk that fine line during speeches and not say shit that can be blown out of proportion. It's the next headline on CNN. Can you believe Trump said this? I don't think we have anything about Hillary Clinton. President Clinton says you should drink Lysol. Now, I don't think that's ever going to happen with the way that she would speak versus Trump. So you've got that much more polished kind of politician coming in, that perspective. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not a Clinton fan. I think there would just be or even more evil shit going on behind the scenes with her pulling the strings as this mass puppeteer, but she wouldn't show the American people everything she's doing like Trump is.
Yeah, and I agree. And there's another thing that personally, I think she's just a smarter person.
Ooh, wow.
General, I know
Well,
that's a finger, but she was like in the top 5% of her Harvard graduate class. You know what I mean? Like she's a very bright person.
whose dick did she have to suck to get those grades?
Not Bill's, because he wasn't a very good student.
Well, and also, obviously, it wasn't Bill's because he needed to get his rocks off by other women, right? So we understand that. It's okay, Bill. We love you, Bill.
And what I hear, that was consensual, Scott. Hillary totally consented for that.
So please,
as long as I don't have to do it.
Yeah, it's like somebody suck this guy's dick so he quits annoying me and I can focus on my presidential race. I know you're
run the country here. I don't have time to suck this guy's dick. Fun story.
Goodness.
But just in general, I'm not saying that Trump is a dumb person. So please, if he's don't think that I'm bashing this guy. He's smart enough. He's fine. I just think that Hillary's an academic-minded person, and she has that higher level of social awareness, and Scott hit on earlier, that ability to know what to say and how to say it, and a lot of that has to do with just that innate academic intelligence. So,
yeah, and years and years and years of being in the government, and her husband, and watching her husband too, right? He was groomed and went up, governor of Arkansas up to the presidency. She kind of, and let's face it, like you were just joking about there a minute ago, she was probably more of the way more active first ladies when it come to actually real responsibility, not just like, doing like sponsoring stuff like the get out and play stuff and everything like that Michelle Obama did. And I'm not sure really, I don't know anything that Trump's wife does. Like, I don't know.
The ironic campaign of the anti-cyberbullying campaign, which I don't have to explain the irony of that.
Yeah. Well, I will say this though. She is hands down way better looking than the last than all the other first ladies, probably. I would have to say. I'm not even going to do any research on that. They're not usually lookers, but that's okay.
Well, that, and they're normally not spring chickens either, right?
No. They're usually just as old as their husbands, right? Which kind of makes sense, but not in Donnie's way. No. You marry younger. That's right, buddy.
Yeah, usually first ladies, I don't even know. They're like grandmothers, like great grandmothers. I don't know. I mean, how far do you take it? I mean, there's MILFs and GILFs and GILFs. I don't know what the. I don't think that's a thing. I don't think a GILF is the thing.
No, that's gross.
So another thing that we haven't brought up is global policy.
I'll tell you this. and I'll personally say this. I don't know China's deal. Like, if this is, again, big conspiracy theory, is the coronavirus a retaliation to Trump's way of communicating and way of working with them and dealing with them, right? I don't know. I don't know that. I'm not going to speculate it, but I will say this. There's been some trade reorganizations and some things that old Hillary's hubby was, actually in charge of NAFTA and putting that together. Kind of a shitty deal for us in the grand scheme of things. I think what's reorganized now is much better, and I think our going head to head with China about certain things was a very smart move by Trump, but also a little volatile too. So I'm not quite sure how that changes up. And now, if my memory serves me correct, though, if you want to go back to Clinton, um, maybe even Bush Jr., right? Even good old W, and then Obama. They were pretty weak with standing up to China and other countries that wouldn't follow through, right? It was like, hey, guys, this is our agreeing. We're agreeing on this. We're doing that. And there'd been so many times that China would just kind of ignore it, and we wouldn't really retaliate or do anything in fear that we might cause something that maybe a lot of people think Trump is doing with them.
Because
So
we lean so heavily on their consumer products.
yeah, and that's our fucking fault, dude. We send all of our corporations go over there because there's less regulation, cheaper labor, and just those two things alone. I think almost everybody like manufactures shit in China or another country that's very similar like that, and they're not going to stop doing that until there's less regulation over here or cheaper labor. Or something like the coronavirus hits and they realize, holy shit, 3M, you make all this fucking protective, like PPE equipment, and almost all of it is manufactured in China. So there's that too. So I don't know. I see globally we have maybe a little less tension with people, but I'm not sold on the tension that Trump's created globally. I'm not sold on it all being wrong. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that there definitely be a lot more hardline stance um, with North Korea. There definitely be a lot more hardline stance with Russia. Um, China, traditionally, I think that the left have always been more willing and forgiving to negotiate with China out of economic fears, like you point out. But then I don't think that we end up bombing Iraq or an Iranian general on Iraq in times of peace. I don't think that happens. I mean, as far as I know, the Clintons were pretty covert about their assassinations.
Hey, ask Epstein, right? And that's something else too. I do want to bring up. I do feel there would at least be a few more dozen people that could have maybe incriminated the Clintons that would have just accidentally died somehow. So I see that happening over the next or the last. Allegedly, everything's allegedly, of course, right? Or else Hillary would be in jail.
So this has been a super fun experiment. I'm not going to apologize to the stiffies that we pissed off because it's just play and what if. But it is good to entertain the ideas, and it is good to think about. There's not such a drastic difference between the parties as the media or the party members running for office will have you believe. I think overall, there's maybe half a dozen core differences between a far left Democrat and a far right Republican. But those politicians that are running for office often really dramatize that and really coach up the fear so that they can get their base stirred up and get those voted and try to win re-election. Because in our campaign seasons, it's always about keeping your job, not doing it. So, but that was fun. I think unless you have anything else to add on our little what if,
let's move right along.
We can move on to the next one. We brought up Twitter a couple of times, and I'm hip. I'm with it. I tweets sometimes.
No, you're actually getting your Twitter legs. I like that.
I am. They're like shaky, like a fawn that was just born. I'm trying to walk around like Bambi. but I am trying to get the hang of it. We are at the Stiff Truth. If you guys want to know, please follow us. But how in the actual fuck does Trump stay so active on Twitter?
You know, I don't know. We've got some theories about this, buddy. He seems like he's got more energy than both you and I put together when we were in our teens, which just brings up some interesting things to think about here. When where is this coming from? We both know that he's not physically fit, even though his doctors try to say he's got this amazing bill of health and all this shit. He eats a bunch of fucking fast food. He loves McDonald's and steak with ketchup on it. I think, like you mentioned, which again, I can't trust a man that does that.
It's tough.
It's really tough, right? But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, you brought up the point about him maybe dabbling in something psychedelically. I'm leaning more towards maybe he's just, I don't know, maybe he's just popping over the counter stimulants here and there or all the time. But what's your theory?
Like, well, so since some of his more radical tweets come at like 4 or 5 in the morning, I think that sometimes he maybe allegedly microdoses mushrooms or something in the early hours. I don't know, to get these like wild tweets, and he thinks that seems like it'll fly. But really, I'm wondering, is it even him? Does he have a Twitter army that he just have like to get together and they just constantly tweet shit so he doesn't have to worry about it?
You know, that's a really good point, because the massive amount of tweets that he comes out with, you would imagine that in a press conference, you'd see him in the middle of taking a question from a reporter, be like, hold on. Sorry, I just had to retweet that real quick, you know?
It's like 20, 30, 40 a day.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even like have time to get 5 good tweets a day. And this guy's trying to run the country and tweet off a few dozen tweets a day. Like, and he like responds back and like gets in like Twitter feuds. Like, how does he have time to do all of that?
I don't think he does, dude. I think you brought up a really interesting point there. Is he probably has a couple of handles, right? That just kind of run his page for him, but they probably have to submit everything to him for approval or something.
Read this tweet. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, because I have a feeling sometimes he edits them to make sure that doesn't make a lot of sense. You know what I mean?
I bet you he doesn't even read it. I bet you he literally has them read to him. And then he just gives the yay or nay. I bet you, because
read that for me.
He has his security briefings read to him. Like he doesn't even read those. He just give me the fucking Cliff's Notes version of Iraq.
See, and I've heard some things here that have really made me think that it's methamphetamines. Not like he's fucking sitting there pushing a puddle and smoking a fucking glass dick or anything like that.
Oh, we're gonna make a hashtag of that, folks.
Oh, hashtag push the puddle, baby. Obviously, I've had no experience in this realm, but what I wanted to mention is there's been so many people that have tried to highlight how much energy he has and how he's always ready to rock and roll. I can't remember who it was, but I don't think it was one of his cabinet members, but I think it was somebody that had the pleasure of being able to travel with him on some diplomatic kind of runs in other countries. And he was noted as saying, and this is not verbatim or anything, but like everybody else was sleeping. Trump would not like sleep. He'd be like the one up latest, the one up earliest, the one always ready to go. You don't have that kind of energy. And I know I'm not even 40 yet. I get super tired and want my sleep and get really cranky without it, unless I'm high on meth all day. That's the only thing I can think of. So with him like running on all cylinders all the time, and I kind of think it's interesting too. This is I'm not going to equate Trump and Hitler much, but with Adolf Hitler, he became extremely strung out and dependent on a cocktail of methamphetamines that his private doctor used to shoot him up with every morning. He couldn't even get out of bed without the shit. Now, fast forward a little bit. When you do so much meth and you don't sleep that much, you start to go fucking nuts. And that's when he used to be hailed as like this, this kind of military mastermind, right? And then all of a sudden, fucking Hitler started doing the stupidest shit in the world because he had this like just delusional understanding of reality, and all of his generals even started to like second guess him, which was like another thing. So fast forwarding to Trump, I see somebody else being strung out on meth all the time or uppers, and that's why he's kind of losing his shit a little bit more and more, and just not really seeming like he's in touch with reality. Is that a sound theory?
So, do you think this is like toilet crank or like mini thins? Is this some new designer Eastern European methamphetamines? Is he
Oh,
doing crocodile? Like, what's going on here?
listen. Oh, he's a conservative dude. He's doing stuff that's he can get from a doctor, and he's doing stuff that seems legitimate. I think that he's probably taking about 70 milligrams of Vyvanse 2 times a day, or Adderall or something of that nature.
Interesting. You heard it here first, folks. I just want to throw in a Trump does meth allegedly.
Oh my goodness,
With a little bit of microdosing mushrooms on the weekends.
Yeah, and my God, if he's doubling up and doing both, well, that makes a lot of sense.
No wonder Melania had to move to Florida. You're like, get the hell out of here with that.
You can see him pacing around the White House in like every room. He's just walking around in every room, holding his phone up, fucking tweeting shit. Fucking, he's got like white shit on his lips. He's licking his lips all the time. He can't even handle himself. Sweating.
Like, Dave Chappelle in a cokehead skit. Right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Oh my awesome. Goodness. Well, I'll tell you what. I don't know about you, Bob, but it's really interesting that the man's got so much energy. I think this is going to be a speculation of mine until we get some hard evidence about this guy, because I can't understand how somebody can be that youthful and be in such poor health and old. It doesn't make a lot of sense, buddy. But anyways, so speaking about healthy stuff, what are we drinking today? We're getting ready for that? I'm getting kind of thirsty.
We are. I'm out of coffee. I'm out of water. I've got nothing up here, so I should probably get some of these.
Well, I'll tell you what. I don't know how you've been able to even you're a strong man, because you've literally had Robin Williams screaming in your left ear for about 40 minutes now.
Yeah, and my study's working. I don't get it. I keep having to use this guy, but
oh my goodness. Well, let's go ahead and do it, man. Let's go make ourselves a stick cocktail and come back. We got a really fun topic this week, so shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
I just want you to know that it's all about the kids.
It's always about the kids. Zip truth, the 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 zip truth. Sorry about that. That was pretty. Let's call it what it is.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
That was gayer than shit.
All right.
You knew it was coming. Anyways, Bob, I'm so sorry about my dramatic exit from the show. You were saying.
No problem at all. These things happen, especially under the circumstances of COVID. Anyway, what I was saying is, I like to go with a double shot, 2 shots of scotch, but then a whole shot of Drambuie. Because then you just have this huge, full, Don Draper-looking glass of brown, right? It's fantastic. And after that ice melts, just after a couple of minutes, that drink is like damn near chuggable. It's insane how much you can drink this thing. And when you're walking around, like a big swinging dick, because everyone's like looking at you with your glass of scotch thinking, God damn, what a man.
Oh, well, let's just say that's at least your perception of yourself when you're drinking that.
I feel like your second one. That's how you feel.
Well, and here's the other really cool thing. I'm glad that you got into the Rusty Nail, and I got to give credit to Jamie again. She showed me the Rusty Nail. I had no idea what it was. I figured after drinking one, I was going to have to go get a tetanus shot or something like that. I had no idea what I was getting into, right? Did you like that? Huh?
I see what you did there. I see what you did.
Like I got stabbed by a real Rusty Nail. Oh, get out of here. Cut it out. But seriously, I just did Dave Coulier there, just so everybody knows. God, Jesus Christ, I'm all over the place.
People know who Dave Coulier is, Scott.
You're right. I mean, well, no, I got to take that back. Some of the stiffies watch Full House at least, right?
Moving on.
Okay. I like that. Sorry about that. That's how you shut me down. Just say moving on, right? But no, the other thing about the Rusty Nail that I really, really love is, let's face it, you were saying it, It's a fucking stiff cocktail, bro. And literally, if you've had any other beverages throughout the day, have a rusty nail or two to kind of cap it off. You're smooth sailing. You're feeling great. It's a very responsible looking drink, but you can really you can take it to that irresponsible edge too, because it's dank, baby.
Oh yeah, the rusty nail. I would contend that that's where you start. Is with a couple of rusty nails, and then it's all downhill from there, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So yes, it is a cool drink, and then the Drambuie isn't inexpensive, but you don't use a lot of it, so it does last a lot. Like,
What's interesting, I've already gotten like 2 handles of that's wow. Yeah, I've already gotten like 2 handles of scotch since we had
that out loud took you back a little bit, right?
Guys, it's not because I drink that much. It's just because it's so.
Handle since last Sunday.
Yeah, I've only got. I take that back. I've only gotten 1 handle, but like I've said, I've already gone through a handle and gotten another handle, and I still have a little bit of over half of the 5th of Drambuie left. Is my point. You know what I mean? You don't have to use a lot of it, which is nice.
It is, and I think it's going to be a regular in my liquor cabinet repertoire. There, I think it's going to be a regular guest. So.
I figured it would be once you realize the punch that it packs and then how good it fucking tastes too. You can't get past that,
Yeah, and then when I have guests over at some point and I'm charging them $8 a drink, I mean, I'm giving them a rusty nail.
Bob doesn't do that. He's a stand-up guy. He charges them at the door to get in.
Yeah, it's like a Tijuana all-you-can-drink cover. You pay the $20 up front, right?
That's right.
Just kidding.
No, but no, Rusty Nail's fantastic, and I have to maybe boast a little bit here too that maybe Boddington's Pub Ale has been added to your repertoire as well.
I've got some in the fridge right now.
Oh, interestingly enough, Friday afternoon I was like, you know what? Restaurants are open back up here. Let's go to Elizabeth's favorite restaurant. So we went to Red Robin. She loves that place.
I love Red Robin. Yeah.
I'm not quite sure why. Every time me and Jamie go there, we're like super pumped because we know that Elizabeth loves it, and then like I really don't want to get like this gigantic fucking heart attack hamburger. I don't want a salad, and besides that, they really don't have a lot on the menu. But anyways, regardless, went there. And I had 1 beer. Yeah, I had 1 beer there. I had a Stella, a tall Stella, right? Leaving the restaurant. We're very satisfied. By the way, I had the Whiskey River, was it the barbecue Whiskey River chicken wrap? Oh,
yeah,
fuck, dude. Which is funny. I'm sitting there bitching about all these burgers and being unhealthy because of the sweet barbecue sauce on the Whiskey River wrap. It's got more calories than half the burgers. Of course, naturally. So that's what I get. But then driving home, I'm just kind of really satisfied with myself. I was like, you know what? I tell Jamie, I got to stop at the liquor store real quick. Why? I feel like having some Boddingtons. Got a quick 4-pack, went home, drank the whole thing. Feeling great. I'm glad you got some in the fridge, though. It's good.
Yeah, I had one last night. The night before, I was watching Young Guns.
1 or 2?
1.
Ah, nice. Very nice.
Watching the first one. And having me a Boddington's, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not saying Young Guns 2 sucks or anything like that. I just wanted to know, I just wanted him to set the scene a little bit more here, because if you're watching Terminator, 1 or 2 makes a big difference, right? So does Young Guns 1 and 2.
I forgot who was even in the second one. I had to look it up. And do you remember Christian Slater?
Oh, yeah.
In the second one. Oh,
Gotta love that. Gotta love that. Well, hey, speaking of starting to talk about actors here, I think we should probably let everybody know what the topic is today and start diving in, huh?
Okay, well, as you guys probably know, Scott and I are a couple of jokesters. We're always joking about but for real, we like our comedies and we like our comedic actors. We love a good laugh and we love our cinema. And today we thought we'd approach on some of our favorite comedic actors that decided to do dramatic movies with success.
That's the key right there with success. I think there's a lot of people that have swung the bat. And let's face it, I don't say they've missed. We talked about this. We're actually thinking about like, well, who's tried this? Who's come from the comedic world on the cinema side and decided, you know what, I'm going to really jump into a serious dramatic role and be taken seriously, right? And I think that's where maybe a lot of people they stop themselves. They say, you know what, I'm typecast as a comedic actor. I can't do this one. Nobody's going to take it seriously. It's going to be too hard of a transition for me. Whatever, right? So maybe that's why some have avoided, but some have done it with grace. And let's face it, some have, I won't say they're better dramatic actors, but damn, there's a couple of them out there that are just as good or maybe even better at their dramatic roles versus their comedic roles. So excited to get into this one a little bit more, baby.
Yeah, and we have a list here. It's a fairly short list.
It's not Schindler's List.
We wanted to go with successful, like overtly successful with what they've done when they've tried to switch it up like that.
But I think what Bob is trying to say is like, if we don't say anybody that you think about, well, go fuck yourself. This is the stiff truth.
Yeah. In fact, anytime you say something that you don't agree with, go fuck yourself.
Hey, guys, I've always said it from the beginning. This is a show of open-minded intolerance. Unless you disagree with us.
We accept everyone's point of view as long as it's the same as ours. So,
yeah.
So that you guys know.
And we do accept the point of view if it's not the same as ours, but it's obviously an incorrect point of view. Moving on.
Yeah, because you either have our alignment of a point of view or you're wrong.
That's way too Democratic and Republican of us. Let's move on.
So I think the one that really starts all this off, as far as just in general, I want to say we can probably take it to Robin Williams, probably one of the pioneers of this.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
When he did Good Morning Vietnam, he was funny, but it wasn't a comedy, right? And he did a great job, and he nailed that down. And then over the next few years, he had a lot of successful drama movies with Dead Poet Society. Good Will Hunting was much later, but he started
The Fisher King, really good one.
Started getting a lot of looks at him, and then the very next one at that point was probably Tom Hanks.
Mm-hmm. In fact, I wasn't going to say it until we got into him a little bit, but I actually have dubbed when I see a new actor or a newer actor that's, mainly in comedies or that's his wheelhouse. And then all of a sudden he's in a good dramatic movie. I'm like, he's pulling the Tom Hanks on us, isn't he? And I've almost coined that at Tom Hanks because I agree. Now, I don't necessarily think, though, and this is maybe where Robin Williams has a leg up. I will say this. Tom Hanks was in some great comedic movies. Have you seen The Burbs from like 1989?
Oh, of course. Love it.
Oh, God. One of the best movies ever. I will watch it every single time it comes on. I'll shut everybody up, too. It's one of my favorites.
Another great comedy.
Turner and Hooch. Great fucking movie. Big. Another great movie. That is, that kind of toes the line a little bit, though, right? That movie's not all fun and games. It's actually a kind of a little bit serious too, but still, it's a very playful movie. So you've got those kind of movies, but Robin Williams, I think maybe had a little bit more of a comedic catalog at the point that he kind of transitioned versus Tom Hanks. What do you think?
Well, the thing about Robin Williams, and you know what, a lot of these comedians, people are funny because they come from a dark place and they're able to laugh at themselves because of their experiences. A lot of comics we talked about in our stand-up episode, a lot of comics come from a troubled past, a troubled childhood, difficulties growing up. And I think that some of the very things that make some of these comedic actors so damn good at their craft are the exact things that make them so good at being versatile and going into a dramatic role. Because I think it takes the same types of chops. And a good comedic actor can probably dig deep and be a good dramatic actor, but it doesn't necessarily reciprocate. Or a good dramatic actor can turn it around and always be a good comedic actor.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm really glad you brought that up. I was talking to Jamie this week about our topic, right? And I was like just getting her feedback and going back and forth. And she wholeheartedly said the same thing. She's like, I really don't she's like, I really see it being a lot harder going the other way. Like you were just saying, going from being a good dramatic actor to trying to be really fucking funny in a movie. I mean, you can be written funny lines, but you have to deliver them with the timing, right? That makes it funny, which is, I think, a little bit more difficult than the flip side. But yeah, no, I like what you said there too, because comedians do come from a dark place. Now, what they do is they take that dark place and they're able to make light of it, like you said, right? Just different words. They apply where they came from, that dark place and those dark feelings, to very serious roles. And I think that's a pretty easy transition if they are a good actor. I have to highlight that. All right. You can't just be like a silly slapstick guy and not have any acting chops and expect to get out there and do a Good Will Hunting or to do a Philadelphia or to do an Apollo 13 or something like that, or Forrest Gump. Right. So good pointing that out.
Look at someone not on this list. I mean, Chris Farley, right? He did a great job with Tommy Boy. But then he got really serious when he took on Black Sheep.
Wait, I think those two movies are exactly the same. It's just that their character names are different, right? Him and David Spade.
I'm only joking.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
But yeah, 100%. I mean, you look at our list here, and I think the cream rises to the top pretty quick, and it ends with Tom Hanks and Robin Williams. I think they're probably the best at their crafts when they went to take on those other roles. Another interesting name here, especially with commercial success, is Will Smith.
Yes.
When we were kids and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was on, Will Smith was one of the funniest sitcom actors on TV.
Oh, dude, him and Carlton. Yeah, those guys were great. He was very funny, very
Ribeiro, but I get you.
Yeah, well,
everyone knows him as Carlton.
He's they even have a dance named after him called the Carlton, so he's going to be called Carlton for his whole life.
Careful. I think he's like trademarked that. I think he's suing Fortnite.
Wow, holy shit! But you're right. No, Will Smith. I mean, what a pivot he did, right? Because he went from doing his own intro song with DJ Jazzy Jeff, right? He was a rap musician prior to even his acting career, and kind of kept that going.
He was the Fresh Prince before he was the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Exactly right. So, but yeah, I think I'm trying to think, man. Beyond he had this thing in the '90s. Remember? Every single summer, he was in the blockbuster hit for the summer. It was Independence Day, boom. Men in Black, boom. Like everything that came out June or July for like a few years, he was the fucking guy. Those weren't really dramatic movies. They were more of his comedy chop movies, right? But then you start getting into him, The Pursuit of Happiness, Ali, the biopic. Yeah. So, and he's been able to do that time and time again. What's the one where he plays the doctor, the vampire? No, the vampire type movie or whatever, where people. Do you know what I'm talking about? That was a good one. He was pretty fucking serious in that one too.
No, but he was also in Concussion when they were talking about the doctor who discovered a CTE in the NFL players.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Bob. I'm looking something up right now.
So, this is called filler time. This is Will Smith not only was good at being a dramatic actor, but he was probably the only one on our list, and the only one that we could even think of, that went from a comedic actor, even a sitcom comedic actor, into a action megastar.
Mm-hmm.
That's a difficult transition to do, and that's why I can't think of anyone else that's done it. Maybe, I don't know, I would say maybe The Rock, because he's done some comedies, but not like Will Smith. Will Smith was super funny and then went straight to super mega action star. Like you said, for a decade he was the it guy.
Mm-hmm. No, he was. I'm not finding it. I'm not finding it all here. Very interesting how Will Smith's Wikipedia does not have a filmography, but it's got a discography, which is very interesting. Here, watch. I got to look it up. Vampire movie. I don't even care. I don't even care if I'm taking up too much time. Everybody can just F off. I Am Legend. Fucking shit. How could I not remember that name of the movie?
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, it's a great movie, but it's not funny at all, right? It's him and his dog. His dog gets killed. He's like, it's post-apocalyptic time, right? He's like living like battered up in New York City or whatever like that, and has to go out and get food and fight
fighting bears and tigers and shit in the city.
Yeah, I don't know what those vampire type things were in the movie, but yeah, that was an intense movie. A lot of fucking just thinking on that shitty movie. Anyways, so yeah, we got Will Smith in there, definitely huge. Now you mentioned something I thought was pretty interesting too. Somebody that kind of came from the sitcom world, but what about sketch comedy world? And then completely did this pivot. Let's talk about Jim Carrey. I know some people don't like him. He's an over actor, this and that. He's, too slapstick and too ridiculous with his stuff with Ace Ventura and Dumb and Dumber and shit like that.
Yes,
but
everyone thinks that except for his accountant.
Yeah, that's true. But
yeah, that's another one. He started In Living Color?
Oh, dude, Fire Marshal Bill. You know what I mean? He started in Living Color, I want to say, in the late 80s, and he did stand up before that. So another guy that, I don't think anybody would take him seriously in a dramatic role up until the late 90s, but then he came out with he was in a couple really good ones besides, well, The Truman Show started it. Okay, The Truman Show.
Eternal Darkness.
Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. And
Eternal Sunshine.
Man on the Moon, yeah, his biopic that he did, and then the other one is The Majestic. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Yep.
It's a great movie where he's like that Hollywood kind of type guy, crashes his car, gets amnesia, goes to that town where they think he's like the soldier coming back, and then kind of implants himself in that life. Not funny at all. The Number 23. Do you remember that one?
Yeah. Yep.
That was a damn good movie. Damn good movie. Not fucking funny at all. So I think a lot of people don't give Jim Carrey the credit that he deserves on this list. I would literally, with the way he's transitioned and how much I hold him very high standard as a comedic actor, and then also equally high, I put him right behind the old Robin Williams and Tom Hanks for the success.
Yeah, he's definitely got chops. And if you didn't know or were unaware, he's also the mustached villain in Sonic.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Didn't know that until I got it for my daughter to watch. And I was like, holy shit, Jim Carrey still acts? I thought he was like holed up in like East Hollywood painting like political satire pictures.
He's a little bit of a strange cat now, but he's also had a lot of crazy shit that's going on in his life in the past 5-10 years. His wife died or fiance died. They try to pin it on him because they were like his sleeping pills, this and that. He's gone through this. It seems like he's gone through a complete like metamorphosis with how he thinks. He's very, very deep and philosophical now and everything. But anyways, enough about that. He's done a great job with that pivot too. Now, I will say this though. Somebody that gets the credit, and I just don't buy it. Okay, I just don't buy it, and that's Jamie fucking Foxx. Okay, Jamie Foxx. Let's face it, he also started out doing, I think, In Living Color, right? Yeah, he was on there too. He's done a Booty Call. Do you remember that movie from 1995 or 96? Right, with him and Tommy Davidson, also. Alumni from In Living Color. Vivica A. Fox is in that movie too. Very silly, stupid movie. And then he fast forwards and starts getting credit because I think he won the Academy Award for the biopic about Ray Charles. Now, here's my thing. Beyond that movie, and I believe he was in Dreamgirls too, next to Eddie Murphy, wasn't he?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I'll look.
Okay. So to me, again, besides his being able to emulate the way Ray Charles played the piano and talked a little bit, I don't think he deserves to really be on this list. I don't think he's made the full transition with one biopic movie that won an Academy Award. And let's face it, dude, I have gripes about this too. The movies that win Best Picture and Academy Awards and Best Actors, they're overwhelmingly, it seems to me, at least in the past 5-10 years, the movies that win these are always true stories or they're very taboo subjects. There's no in between, right? And we might have talked about this before, but for instance,
a little bit back check. You are correct. He was in Dreamgirls.
Good deal. But beyond that, I just don't think he has enough pedigree on the dramatic side to really put him there. And they'll be like, yeah, but he won this, and I'm like, yeah. That doesn't really mean much to me because I think, like I was just saying, the people that tend to win the Academy Awards and the pictures that do aren't always the best movies, but they usually seem to have the theme that they're based off true stories, and they usually are true stories that have some kind of hot button subject or taboo subject, right? Look, for instance, Dallas Buyers Club. won, right? And a lot of people won in that movie. It was up the same year as Wolf of Wall Street. Hands down, if I watched both of those movies, I think Wolf of Wall Street and Leonardo DiCaprio and Jonah Hill and Wolf of Wall Street are far better than Dallas Buyers Club. However, Dallas Buyers Club, true story, has AIDS in it, has homosexuality in it. Those are all hot buttons to just push it right to the top of the Academy. So I feel Ray was kind of the same way.
So there's a couple of things. He was great in Django Unchained.
Do we really call any Tarantino movie a dramatic movie, though? Can we do that?
He also had his cameo as Dean Motherfucking Jones in Horrible Bosses.
Actually, Motherfucker Jones is probably one of his best roles. But again, it's him being Jamie Foxx, which I think is funny.
Now, there's also one coming up, too. They have announced that he'll be Al Simmons in Spawn. So let's see where that goes, too. But you're right. He's had some success as a dramatic actor. He's got his award, which is no bullshit. It's hard to get an Oscar.
I know. I've only got 3, and they were all tough to get. You know what I mean?
I'm still waiting for my first. I guess you have to start acting.
No, it's about cupping and. Just kidding.
So, he good enough to make this list. Good enough that he decorated. Not good enough that he's floating to the top of our list up here. There's still other people on this list. I think that I don't know. I think that Adam Sandler is probably in a similar category as Jamie Foxx as far as he's done some good movies. He does have it, but is he one of the better dramatic actors out there? No, but he can put on a movie that he can hold your attention and hold his own as a dramatic actor.
Well, and I think he's got a little bit more of a catalog on the dramatic side, too. Even his movies that are somewhat playful, like Click, opposite of him and Kate Beckinsale in that movie. It was kind of a funny movie, but as it went on and on, it got way and way more serious, right?
Yeah, I got
Uncut Gems, I think, is the glary one right now where it really keeps it up there. Yeah, it's a good one, dude. It's an intense movie. He does a really good job in it. And there's been a couple other. I want to say Spanglish or something like that wasn't very funny at all either. I can't remember off the top of my head.
The Cobbler.
What's that?
The Cobbler was not a comedy.
Oh, I thought you said The Gobbler. I was like, huh? Are we talking about the right kind? We're talking about the right kind of movies. You're all pornographic actors
over there.
that went to the dramatic side. No, I think Sandler's definitely in there, and I'll give him an edge. I'll give him a little bit of an edge on Jamie Foxx, even though he hasn't won an Academy Award. I think that he's got a couple more movies under his belt where I've taken him very seriously in a dramatic role. But again, maybe equal playing field for those two cats right there. What do you think, though, about an up-and-comer here, meaning just a little bit newer than the Tom Hanks, Robin Williams? I think another dynamite one right here is Steve Carell.
Yeah. He's a great actor. I just watched, what was that movie that came out a couple of years ago? Welcome to Marwen. Where
I haven't seen that one.
He plays this guy that basically has brain damage from getting, beaten by this, gang of dudes. And he's never the same, can't walk right, can't talk right, has scars on his face, and he lives in a pretend world where he builds miniatures, miniature house, miniature dolls, miniature this, miniature that. But it's a very interesting movie. There's nothing comedic about it, a very serious role, but he's very convincing. He's just a solid actor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got to give that to him, man. He's actually, is checking out kind of his catalog and everything. He seems to understand what he's doing, and he seems to dedicate periods of time for comedic and dramatic roles. You know what I mean? I think his first part of his career, heavily comedy. Then he took a chunk and did focus for 5 years on just serious movies. And now he's kind of, revisiting it again. But yeah, no, he's really, really, really good. And then I got to mention to somebody that's, I think, kind of a joke all in all, with a lot of his stuff, James Franco, meaning some of the shit that he's done has just been ridiculous, kind of a little strange too. Even some of his humor, he seems like I don't know, he's not all there all the time, James Franco. But then again, another guy, I think 127 Hours or whatever the movie was that I think it won an Academy Award for something. I don't know if he was involved in it, but a very serious movie based on a true story again, too. So
kind of on that note, what about Dave Franco?
his brother.
Yeah, because Dave Franco has been in a bunch of movies. In fact, did you know that Dave Franco was in Superbad?
Who the fuck was he in Superbad?
So he was just some kid playing soccer, right? When they're out there in the soccer field, and Jonah Hill comes out there to talk to his buddy on the soccer field, and he's like,
Sure.
"Get off the damn field," or whatever, right? And then he kicks the ball like into the bleachers or something, and then the kid turns around, and he's like, "You're a real asshole," or whatever. That's Dave Franco that turns around.
Interesting.
One of his first roles, I imagine. But then he's in Now You See Me, Now You See Me Too. He was in that movie where they play the reality like internet stars. Oh, I forget that.
I'm going to be honest with you. I know what he looks like. He looks a lot like his brother, because it's kind of a mini version of him, which I think is kind of funny. But I'm not up to date on his catalog here and what he's done. So
here, I'll just pull it up real quick.
Okay. Why Bob's doing that?
Neighbors. Nerve. Nerve was the movie. Very good movie. I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix. If you want to watch it, but it's good. But he has a lot of credits under him. So that might be someone that starts climbing this list too.
True. Well, we just mentioned him too. We got to give credit to Jonah Hill. Jonah Hill started out ridiculously on the comedic side, right? And he's great at it. He's fucking funny as fuck. I think his big breakout was Moneyball, right, with Brad Pitt, based off the true story about the Oakland A's and how they did their how they built their team a little bit different from everybody else. But he did a very good job there. I think he got don't hold me, but he at least was nominated for Best Supporting Actor if he didn't win that year in that one. It's kind of his step out role, right? And then he did Wolf of Wall Street. He's done a couple other ones that have been very, very notable too recently here. Just let me get up in here real quick. Where was it? Yeah, I think Moneyball was the big one. Wolf of Wall Street. I think there's War Dogs. You had talked about it earlier. Yeah. That's another one that was really good.
And plus Hail Caesar. I don't even remember him in that movie, but
also
not necessarily. It's kind of a comedy.
Yeah, but good stuff there. I mean, you got to give it to Jonah, because I honestly, the reason why I really like him too is I never would have thought he would even have tried to go the dramatic route. You know what I mean? I thought he'd be more like his buddy Seth Rogen, and kind of just stay where you're good. Stay in your lane, so to speak. But no, he's driving all over the road. He's doing a good job. We did write down a couple of people here, and I don't know if Will Ferrell, the more that I think about it, besides that one movie that we were talking about, Everything Must Go, has he done anything else? I mean, he's done some fantastic comedic roles, but I'm just trying to think if he has.
I know we've looked just in general at Will Ferrell, and we thought that with just that movie that he showed enough chops that he had success in it. Pretty sure that's why we left him on this list. But
it was a surprise. It was a surprising movie, because I remember watching that movie thinking I thought it was going to be funny, because it did say it was like a dark comedy or whatever. Not funny at all. Very serious, and he did a really great job in it. But I don't know. We've got a couple more people here on the list, but I don't know. Let's see.
We got Whoopi.
We do.
Whoopi was great comedic actor.
And I'll just say this, probably hands down the most gorgeous woman that's ever faced this.
Well, I'm glad somebody said
it. Jokes! Yeah, no, she looks like a catcher's mitt, but that's okay. That's okay. She started out doing some really funny stuff. We talked about it. Ghost was maybe kind of the start of it, and then where did it go after that?
Was the start of it. She was pretty young when she did that.
Right.
But she's had a lot of other roles where she's done, dramatic roles. Even in Ghost, it was a dramatic movie, but then she was the comedic relief, but still not necessarily a comedy. She still had to show a little bit of acting chops. But that's one of them. Another one that I'd like to mention was Tina Fey.
Mm-hmm.
Tina Fey is obviously from SNL fame, but then she's done Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, and she's expanded her acting skills too. And really, the only other one on this list that we haven't talked about is the lovely man behind you on your background.
MPH, yeah. No, this is an interesting one too because we were talking about it before the show too. This guy's an outlier, I think, in all these things. He's done it a little bit differently than everybody else, and goddamn, surprisingly enough to me, he's turned out to be one of my favorite guys I see on the screen. Whenever I see MPH on the screen, I get excited. I'm not going to lie because the guy has surprised me from both sides of the aisle. Now, he started out doing Doogie Howser, right? We talked about this earlier. It wasn't exactly a funny thing. He always had that little serious little wrap up at the end, like almost like Jerry Springer's Final Thoughts, where he typed on his computer with the little moral of the episode and everything like that. It wasn't really funny. Yeah. It wasn't like that was a sitcom show either. Let's face it. It wasn't supposed to be it wasn't supposed to be like canned laughter, silliness or whatever. So you've got him coming out. Then I think he takes maybe a little bit of hiatus from the silver screen to focus more on theater and musicals and things like that. And then he just fucking comes out of nowhere and becomes himself in the Harold and Kumar movies. And Jesus Christ, some of the
cult figure at that point, right?
Yeah, and he was some of the shit that he says and his character, and it's just him supposedly playing himself. He's outrageous, and then of course you got his, I think his best work, and that's his Barney Stinson and How I Met Your Mother. Talk about being able to act, and I'm not going to say one way or the other, but for anybody that knows MPH and his personal life or whatever, he's a homosexual guy. He's very into not only men like you are, Bob, but he's also into musicals. Actually, we should try to get a hold of him after the show. See if he wants to hang out and have a Colorado Bulldog with us. But he really is the polar opposite of himself as Barney Stinson. He's this male, chauvinistic, like smart ass, well dressed, this and that, whatever. And it's again just polar opposite of how he is in real life. And I think he's, like we talked about it too, that may be one of my favorite, if not the best characters in a sitcom ever.
Yeah, it's a fantastic character.
Yeah.
NPH just lives on in cult lore. I mean, after the Harold and Kumar, was it trilogy? I think it is. Mm-hmm. Then where he gets this like claim to cult fame, and then he does the Barney Stinson character, who is one of the best characters in television, just in general.
Sure.
Throw that out there.
That's the stiff truth right there, buddy.
Show, yeah, without Barney, that show wouldn't have been as successful.
I don't even think it takes off without him. I don't think it gets past the pilot without him, dude. Honestly.
Well, he was the character that they needed. He was the hard ass conservative, free market money driven, successful womanizer. Mm-hmm. And a group of friends that are all kind of pacifists and softies. Like they needed that character to solidify that group of people, or it would have been weak, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a much needed character, and then I believe he has a Tony, so he's got the singing chops. We've all heard him sing.
Oh, he's got the trifecta. He's good.
Have you seen his short where he plays the supervillain, and it's a musical?
I've seen it. I haven't watched it all.
Or Dr. Horrible, or
yeah, I know what you're talking about. I haven't watched it all. I tried to, and I wasn't really too into it, to be honest with you.
I'm pretty sure I have it on iTunes. I'll throw it up there for you. I'll let you do that one.
I appreciate that.
But that's really good. And the weird thing, like you said, is he started off when he was like 14 or 15 or whatever, doing Doogie Howser. And then he went throughout his career, came back in the 2000s, started the highly successful, lucrative show that he did as Barney, and then now he's back in theater. He's doing the Lemony Snicket series of Unfortunate Events, another super dark role, nothing comedic about it, but he's just a fantastic actor, and he's really a master of his craft, and he's one of my favorite on this list for sure.
Yeah, and all things aside, man, and there's nothing wrong with it or whatever, but can you imagine how much ass he would crush if he wasn't gay? Not saying he doesn't crush even more now, but I'm just saying.
I was gonna say, is there I'm sure this goes there. I'm pretty sure though he's in a committed relationship for a really long time with the same partner.
He is. He actually met him on How I Met Your Mother. He was like one of the guys that had a really short role in there, and he met that guy. But I'm just saying because he's got it all. He's got it all. He would really he'd really crush it with the ladies. But hey, you know.
So in short, we love you, NPH.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely, man. And I think, to summarize this up here, we've got some key winners here, I think, because about the Stiff True here, we're all about ranking people here. I'm going to go ahead and give you mine. Just my top, let's say top 3 and an honorable mention.
Sure.
I'm going to go number 1. I'm going to go with Tom Hanks. Number 2, I'm going to go Robin Williams. Number 3, I'm going to go Steve Carell. And honorable mention, Jim Carrey.
Okay. I'm a little bit different.
I hope so.
I think Robin Williams is my 1. Tom Hanks is probably my 1A on that. Just because I think Robin Williams, I just get a little more from him.
Okay.
For some reason. But other than that, I think I'm going to go Jim Carrey with an MPH.
Nice. Very nice job. I like that. Yeah. Thought we'd mix it up a little bit there. It's always good stuff. And I think really what's cool about this too is you think about the people that we picked and the people that are really good at this. We've already said it. All of them have something very dark in their past or their upbringing or something like that too, which is kind of funny. Even Tina Fey, right? Her story about her scar and everything. She was playing in her front yard when she was a little kid. Some fucking dude just comes up and cuts her fucking lip open.
Wow.
That big scar and walks off. You don't recover from that kind of shit with a normal kind of upbringing. You know what I mean? So I think she's got her comedic chops and being thick-skinned, just starting right out of the gate with that horrible scene. So it's interesting because I've noticed that about everybody. Everybody's had some dark things. Obviously, Robin Williams, highly depressed. He killed himself. You know what I mean? So he struggled with shit like that. We know Jim Carrey has the same kind of stuff. Tom Hanks seems the most well-adjusted out of all these fuckers. I'm just going to say that.
Well, except from his role in the conspiracy theorist world, so.
Yeah, well,
Let's not go into that. That's a whole nother episode that we need to get into, but it is coming. We will get into it. So.
Yeah. So I think that kind of wraps up this topic here. It was good. It was fun. It was refreshing. It's a little bit different than the last show. And I can tell you this, Bob. I just got to highlight it for everybody. I'm very surprised how ignorant we are about asking people to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We do it on every single show. We asked for the first time on Facebook yesterday, and we got a lot of action. Isn't that weird? Does anybody listen to us on here?
I don't know. Luckily, we're our favorite audience. So. Well, that and, the kids, because we do it all for the kids.
That's the only reason why we started the show, just so everybody knows. So that's it. That and drinking.
It's all about
Oh, God, that was a fun one, Bob. I mean, let's bring this bad boy home. Let's wrap it up, man. I mean, what do you got to say, my friend? What do you got to tell the world here?
The only thing I got to tell the world is like us and subscribe us. If you're listening to us on the podcast on Apple, write a review about us. Those reviews really help promote the show. And if we get good reviews and high ratings, Apple will put us in the new and relative or whatever list.
We want to be in those algorithms, baby. We want to be in those algorithms.
It's all about working our way into some pants and algorithms.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, sexy algorithms.
But that's all I got. I'm out of drink, so I guess the show's over.
Yeah, that's usually what happens. The show must go on until the drinks are gone, my friend. Well, hey, I got to say, again, thanks for everybody for listening, especially our international listeners. Love you guys. France, England, Australia. You guys are awesome.
Oh, wait. What? New listeners in Chile.
Oh, Chile, huh?
Yes, we picked up a couple of Chileans.
Ah, so, that sounds spicy.
That is. They're over there eating their chili and in their Andes mince.
Jesus Christ. All right. Well, we just lost Chile. Thank you, guys. It was fun while it lasted. But no, in all seriousness, guys, thanks again for listening. We've been noticing a dramatic uptick consistently with people on the podcast platform. So that's awesome. And I don't know if everybody just blanked it out or forgot, but Bob did highlight kind of a contest that we were running. I think we have one comment on our most recent episode on the YouTube channel. It has nothing to do with what we said, but God bless you, Mike Lenz. Thanks for commenting and saying amen for one of Bob's rants on the last show. We appreciate that. But guys, are we still running that contest, Bob, or what? What's going on?
We are.
Okay.
Please comment on the last show.
Fuck, I don't care. Do it on this one. Who cares? Do it on this one now too.
If you guys want, like I said, I'm making decals for windows for the back of the cars. If you guys want to support the Stiff Truth, remember that we are on Patreon. If you guys want to support the show, or you're looking for some swag and you want a T-shirt or whatever, just hit us up on Patreon. Make a donation. We'll get together and talk about the shirt or whatever, and get your size and your address and all that, and we'll just kind of work that through a Patreon donation. You don't have to sign up for a recurring membership on Patreon to support the show. If you just want to get on and donate $5 to the show to help out, would be more than gracious to accept that, and you have the ability to do that. So
yeah, and if you don't have any money, just fucking like and sub already. It's free, for Christ's sakes, right? So, but wrapping it up here, guys, have a fantastic week. Everybody out there, all the stiffies and all the stiffettes. And I'll leave you with one final thought and just, I guess, some advice. Try not to suck too much dick on the way to the parking lot. All right? See you guys next week.
See ya.
Refreshing.
Gaggle. Now, I'm no Andrew Lang, but you know,